Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Fundraising Beyond Borders podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. It has been a long time coming, but this podcast is really a place to educate, inspire, and instill confidence in international fundraisers because let's face it, fundraising for international nonprofits is purely different than national nonprofits. So I hope to provide a space where you can come and learn, listen from really experts and nonprofit leaders from around the world. So let's kind of dive in, and I would love to share a little bit more about my background and why I even thought to start Fundraising Beyond Borders and this podcast. So just to share a little bit more about myself, I'm originally from the States, born and raised in Texas, and then moved up to Missouri for school. I went to the University of Missouri. But when I was in second grade, I said I want to become a second grade teacher. I've always had this huge passion for education, and I think a lot of that stems from having some really wonderful educators behind me during, a lot of my foundational years. And so, like I said, in second grade, I wanted to become a second grade teacher, and that's exactly what I did. So I became a second grade teacher, and I absolutely loved it. But we all know teaching is hard. It's very hard, especially with some of the lack of resources and tools that we're given as teachers. But I was really loving it. But also in 2014, ended up co-founding a nonprofit called Project Wake Up. And that was after losing several friends to suicide, and one of our very best friends in 2014 to suicide. So my friends and I looked at each other and we said, this has to stop. Something has to be done. So we co-founded a nonprofit called Project Wake Up, where we focused on mental health and suicide prevention. And from there, we launched our first very fundraising campaign. And within a week, we had raised around $50,000 by launching a online video about our mission, what we wanted to achieve. And I learned a lot from that. And I really enjoyed the fundraising aspect when it comes to, storytelling. And there's so many people out there who want to make sure that they have, the means to donate. They want to make sure that it's getting to great places. And so we launched that. We hosted several events that were very successful. We also launched a student organization at the University of Missouri that really focused around creating awareness and also fundraising for mental health. I guess I should say more mental health tools on University of Missouri's campus. And so here we are in 2014, 2015. Going into 2016, I am teaching second grade, running and co-founding a nonprofit, as well as getting my master's in curriculum development. So I have this passion for education, this newfound passion for the nonprofit sector. And then I had this third passion for travel. I had taught in South Korea, done several service trips across Central America and Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua several times, and just also traveled personally. And the power of travel is one of my favorite things is just listening and learning about new cultures, understanding new cultures, because this world has a lot to offer. And so as I was teaching second grade and had finished up my master's, I was trying to figure out, are my set skills supposed to be inside the classroom right now? And trying to figure out where I wanted to put those skills and those passions. I was quite young at the time and trying to figure out where to go next. And so very, very long story short, decided to move out to Zambia, Africa in 2016 for what was supposed to be a 6-month internship. And during this 6-month internship, I was designing curriculum for a gender equality program for a nonprofit, as well as doing a little bit of fundraising. Month 3, the executive director asked if I would stay on full time. And this was a really interesting time because, again, I was supposed to be there 6 months, and this specific nonprofit was spread all across East and Southern Africa, but their head office was in Cape Town, South Africa. So she was essentially asking if I would move down to their head office and support their fundraising department. And so, 2016, supposed to be there 6 months. 8 years later, I'm actually still based here in Africa, which has been a really fun journey. Really blessed to see how where my life has taken me over the last 8 years. And so I moved down to Cape Town. And what was super interesting about this nonprofit was they were connected to a for-profit volunteer organization. And so they would have over 1,000 global volunteers come in every year to support. They had 11 different projects around East and Southern Africa. And so a lot in return, this foundation was connected to this volunteer organization. So I was working and basically understanding, getting to, again, listen and learn from so many different cultures. So I was working with Australians to Europeans to Americans, Canadians. Seriously, I think almost every country was represented from around the world at one point. And so it was really a unique situation. And I remember sitting at my desk, this was probably in early 2017, just endlessly Googling, how can I support an international nonprofit? Because as I mentioned at the very beginning of this episode, fundraising for international nonprofits is just purely different than national nonprofits, right? So I was figuring out and kind of uncovering these differences. How was I supposed to launch an online campaign when I am speaking to multiple different languages, multiple different cultures, different currencies, understanding different governances, so I had to really understand this nonprofit was registered in the UK, South Africa, and Zambia. So I had to learn different governances around that, but as well as different communication acts that served in different worlds. We have the GDPR acts in Europe and the POPI Act in South Africa, where you can't just completely reach out to a donor after they donated. There's a process that happens. So, there's just tons and tons of Googling, and there just wasn't a lot of resources out there for international nonprofits. And so over the course of 4 years, from 2016 to 2020, I was leading their fundraising department, launching online campaigns, storytelling, just a lot of learning and a lot of uncovering. And in 2020, at that point, I had won several international fundraising campaign awards. So a lot of our campaigns that we produced and launched won several awards. And because of that, or I should say after that, people and nonprofits started reaching out to me. What are you doing? How are you doing it? What is working for you? What isn't working for you? And I just noticed, again, this huge gap, the lack of resources and tools for international nonprofits. In 2021, I decided to do something about that. I launched my own company and consulting firm. And at that point, it was really focused around the power of peer-to-peer fundraising. Peer-to-peer is an incredible tool for international nonprofits, an incredible fundraising activity, I should say. And you'll hear me speak a lot about it on this podcast. And so that's kind of where I focused on at first, was really just the power of peer-to-peer. But I wasn't really still focusing on international nonprofits. I was still working with American nonprofits that were just based in America. And so, again, it was just going back to, what is my goal? What is my purpose? Who do I want to serve? And that's international nonprofits. And so in 2023, August of last year, I rebranded and relaunched my company called Fundraising Beyond Borders. And this is where we specifically support international nonprofits with the tools and resources so they can fundraise with confidence. And my goal, or our goal now, is to provide so many different resources for all different levels of nonprofits, right? So we have some smaller nonprofits that are just learning the ins and outs of fundraising in the nonprofit world. So we have, different resources and tools on our website for that. We also, Fundraising Beyond Borders supports nonprofits with fractional fundraising and done-for-you services, where we go in and actually do the fundraising for nonprofits. Custom fundraising plans, because again, let's face it, a fundraising plan that's going to work for a national nonprofit is not going to work for an international nonprofit. So how can we hone in on what's working, what's not working, who is your audience, who are your donors, your ideal donor, what is your mission as a nonprofit, in creating a custom fundraising plan specifically for your nonprofit so you can excel, as well as coaching. And this is one of my favorite all-time services that we offer, because I get to use my educational background, right? My curriculum development experience, and supporting nonprofits and creating basically a shorter fundraising strategy, and making sure that we're covering every week ways that you can excel in different areas of your fundraising, again, specifically to international nonprofits. And so over the course, I'm providing these different services, but I wanted to make sure that there was a hub for all of this learning. And this is why I launched the Fundraising Beyond Borders podcast. I wanted it to be a place where you can come and just listen and learn and understand from other nonprofit leaders that are around the globe of what's working, what's not working, what are the barriers, and knowing at the end of the day that you're not alone. You're not alone in this international fundraising world, and that there's actually tools and resources out there for you to excel. And so I'm really excited to be launching this podcast, and for you to come here, have a safe place to just listen and learn and understand, and have some really, really cool conversations around international fundraising. So again, welcome to the community. We are very, very open. We have a team currently as of right now. So we are, I'm recording this in July of 2024. We're a team of 7, which I'm really blessed that we've been able to grow this big. So we are here for you for any questions, but hope this is a place that you just want to come back to be able to understand some really great education around international fundraising. So thank you again for being here, and I look forward to meeting you all, understanding more about your work that you do, and sharing again my commitment to serving international nonprofits.